Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This here is the Christian Trucker, and we are going to do us a video today about a brokerage that I have located that added another tool to my toolbox in finding loads and finding freight and all of that kind of good stuff. No, they only had one bad thing, and I'll say that toward the end of this review. Okay, the broker's name is Choptank Transport. They have a little load board and everything, but we found this load on the DAT board. We were just searching, and I found it, and I called on it because, look, it was a local customer, a local load, 40 miles from home base. So I'm like, hey, it's one of our local guys. I've got to try it out. So I went and got the load down in Louisiana, and it was a multi-stop nursery load, and the load delivered over into Texas. So, well, we got it, and we went over there, and everything went off without a hitch. It ended up being basically a 2-day load. And so the money wasn't great for a 2-day load, but like I said, it was a local customer within 40 miles from home base. And we just, you know, when you're trying to find stuff like that, and you're trying to find customers and people that you like to deal with, you try everybody around, you know. It wasn't so much about the rate as it was getting set up with a new brokerage and a new customer. And we enjoyed working with the brokerage because guess what? They have a load board. I did not know this, but once I got set up with them and everything, they sent me a link to their load board, Choptank. It's Orbit at Choptank. I don't know, something like that. And you get on there, you sign up, you have a sign in just like JB Hunt and Snyder and all them, but they don't have as much freight. But the way they do business, I think it's going to grow. I think it's going to be more and more on that load board, and it's another tool in my toolbox that we can use to find freight in questionable areas. You never know. Like I said, this was a nursery load. They probably have other freight that is in different places that may help us out. All right, so let's get down to the nuts and bolts of the situation. Now, Curtis is our driver. He's been with us for a little while now, and he's already got his first raise, so he's up to 51 cents per mile. We'll start off there. This was a multi-stop load, and I told him I'd pay him $20 for every extra stop. So the load paid $1,500. It went 526 miles, but it was about 45-mile deadhead, so it's about 571 miles. And him at 51 cents a mile, that put him getting $291.21 plus the $40 stop pay. That's $331.21 that he made on that load. All right, so he made $331.21. When you subtract $280 worth of fuel and $331 for the driver, that leaves the company $888.79 for that one load. Now keep in mind that's for 2 days, and everything that has to come out of that, your repairs, your insurances, your equipment notes, all of that comes out of what is left. Not to mention taxes. So let's say the company makes $200 on that load. You might as well put $100 to the side because there is taxes on top of taxes on top of taxes in this business. And I'm learning more and more about the cost of employees. And I'm going to do another video on that because I got some more information this week about having employees and about how costly it can be. And we're going to work on that video. And I think it's going to be something that a lot of y'all will appreciate it. It may make some of the company drivers out there that work for the mega carriers and even the smaller carriers appreciate having their job a little more, because what these companies have to go through in order to have employees is not acceptable. But I'm going to get off point. I'm stopping on that subject. What I wanted to tell y'all is, all right, this load paid $285 per mile. Now, back, what was it, a year ago or so, maybe more, the rates were crappy. All right, so let's just figure if this load paid $1.50 a mile with the same fuel, driver pay. That would leave the company $177 to pay notes, insurances, and repairs and plates and all that kind of stuff. All that, it looks good on this end, but whenever you take all that out, there ain't much meat left on the bone. So at $1.50 a mile, you'll make a little bit of money to pay your expenses, but you're not going to make much to put in your pocket. So you got to really try to get the best rate you can in order to make this business work, because there's going to be unexpected expenses. There's going to be all kinds of things come up that you're not really looking for. And especially like my truck, it blowed a radiator. It needs a few other little things. You never know what might come up, especially when you have a little bit older equipment, which between me, you, and the fence post YouTube, we thinking about upgrading some equipment this year. Maybe not expanding the fleet, maybe just focusing on upgrading some equipment to try to get us in a little bit more dependable ride and a little bit more dependable situation. But you compare 888 now to what would have been, just say 188 back then for the business side. Things are really good right now, is the point, in the freight market for the companies. How long it's going to last, we don't know. I'm hearing some good things. I mean, people are starting to go back to work. Curtis was able to get a hotel room this weekend in South Carolina, and he said things were booking it over there. People were everywhere. I was watching Valuetainment, and he was talking about how people are just flooding the Vegas strips in numbers that they haven't seen in a very long time. So I'm hopeful that the market is going to get just crazy good for us truckers, and we're going to be able to get new trucks on the road and new equipment and maybe expand some fleets. And I don't think we'll see any more large company closures like we were seeing. That was sad to watch all those companies go on. But hey, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to tell you this. If you have a trucking company and you're still small, I recommend that you put aside every extra thing you can, pay off everything that you can, and try to prepare yourselves for the harder times that may come. Don't get comfortable in these good times, because the next thing we know, things can go south, and just in the snap of a finger, we'll be back where we were, scratching and clawing to make it. And, it is the goal of a company to survive, just like an individual. When you start an LLC, when you get that EIN number, it is like a different individual. You creating a person, and you want that person to survive forever. So you need to start taking steps to make sure that your company can last. And I'm learning a lot about that this year, because I've had to get a new tax company to help me. And they have really helped me start separating my personal and my business, and showing me where I was and wasn't doing right. And I'm looking forward to getting everything set up. That way I can secure my business for the long term. And that's what we're looking at. I want to grow this thing to where people can have a job for a long time. Look, that picture right there. That light bulb fell out up in the headlight, and there's no way to get it. And this is a fairly new reservoir, and for some reason it decided to start leaking in a couple of different places. I cannot get it to stop, so I'm gonna have to replace it. And we just replaced the radiator, and I've been having some blow by coming up there, some kind of oil mixed with water. That didn't look very pretty, but it stopped. I'm hoping that that's not a sign of larger issues. We're staying on top of that. Go ahead and update y'all on what happened with our blowout the other day. That sucker cost me a load. It took them 5 hours to get me back rolling from the time I stopped, which caused me not to make my second stop. So not being able to make my second stop, that right there is the hardest part on the truck to grease. I don't know why they missed that. So I didn't miss the load for Saturday, but I am going to miss the load on Tuesday because of my blowout on Friday. Does that make sense? Because I'm finishing up the load that I had Friday today, because today's Monday. But the load that I had, because I had 2 for today, it got pushed off till tomorrow. So instead of having 2 loads tomorrow, I've only got 1 new load for tomorrow, and we'll finish the one that we had today tomorrow. I know it sounds confusing, but it's really not if you think about it. But their equipment cost me a day's work. And that's kind of direct shipper blues. For most part, we haul my trailers, but occasionally we haul theirs, and theirs are not kept up as well as ours. And also on that side, direct shippers, whenever they need you there, you have to be there. You can't make your own schedule as well working with direct shippers as you can working out there on the spot market, going when you want to go, take a week off whenever you want to take a week off. And that's what I was explaining to Curtis the other day, is I don't want to get us sucked down to another direct shipper, because then he couldn't make his schedule like he likes it. I like to work with him to where he gets the time off that he needs. Right now we're on a 4-week tour. We're going to work 4 weeks, and then he's going to take a week, maybe a hair over off. And that's cool. I mean, I'm glad he can do that, and I'm glad we can do that. But if we were to sign in with another direct shipper, you can't guarantee yourself that that can happen. Speaking of which, Snyder had a load coming out of Texas, and we took it up into Arkansas or Tennessee. Anyway, no, it was Louisiana, Tallulah. Anyway, we took that load, and they called me, and they wanted to know if I wanted to give them a rate so we can keep pulling that load and all that, and we decided against it because of that reason. But that's going to be all I'm going to write out today. We'll talk to y'all later. I got a couple of TikTok videos I want y'all to watch that I did coming up right now. So God bless, and I'll catch you on the next ride. Okay, I forgot to tell y'all the worst thing about Choptank. It was the tracking and the threat of getting fined $300 for the tracking not being on. Anyway, that's the worst thing about Choptank. I liked them. I think we'll use them again. God bless.
Y'all gon' make me lose my mind. Up in here. Y'all gon' make me go all out. Up in here. Y'all gon' make me act a fool.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I have a blowout. I'm beside the road. You know, looking at that sky, sometimes I just can't wait for the good Lord to part them clouds and say, come home, children. I'm going to sit at the welcome table one of these days. I'm going to feast on milk and honey. I'm going to tell God how you treated me one of these days. Hallelujah. Praise Jesus. Catch y'all on the next ride.